Yeah.
Not familiar with that landmark, Brandon.
Yeah. You're in a town that has like 2 stop signs now. You guys got the third that has lights now on the crosswalk. Everyone's all freaked out.
We've had a traffic light for over a decade now, okay?
Yeah. The moms don't let their sons step on the lights because they think it's going to melt their shoes.
All the pedestrians still just let cars go first anyways. That's really annoying, by the way, when it's like, yo,
people wave you on.
Yeah, it's like, I passed a cop like a block down. Please just use the crosswalk now.
Yeah.
So what's up, man? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Fight Plug Podcast. We're here to do a breakdown of UFC 295. We are so close. We are officially like in the countdown to UFC 300, man. Like it's right around the corner. Isn't that
crazy? Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Until you brought that up right now, I did not think about that at all. I was hearing that like Conor's going to be on UFC 300, right? They want Adesanya on 300. Like the names that they're putting in for it.
I haven't really seen, or I don't know who are really like the front runners to actually be on that card. But yeah, time wise, as far as the timeline goes, it seems like Conor versus Chandler, I'm guessing, would make sense. Like that would be around when he would be coming back. So, I mean, and that's about what we would expect. That's appropriate. That's pretty
UFC sick.
300 caliber
Conor
fight.
On 300, sure. That would look sick. That's a sick poster, dude. 300, fucking Chirac. They should have it in fucking Chicago. Chirac. They should have fucking. Dude, they should have it in Chicago. Chirac. It should be fucking Chief Keef 300, just like right there, just like. They say Conor ain't no damn hitter, and motherfuckers in school saying Conor McGregor ain't about that shit. That would be fucking sick, dude.
Oh, I'd be all over it. Cool. But yeah, man, 295 this weekend.
I
don't know if you want to do it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, but I wanted to see, like, time-wise, like, feasible.
You're right. You should be, sir. Why am I apologizing?
Yeah, feasibility-wise, right? Who would you like to see? And what matchups would you like to see? Obviously, like Payne, like I bet you they're saving Makhachev and whoever for that. Who would you like to see on 300? Like feasible and like maybe like mix feasibility with like wildest dreams. You know what I mean? Like kind of somewhere in the middle. What would you like to see?
It's tough to say because
all
so
bitches.
Many... all bitches.
You're just gonna name like 7 Russian bitches right now, dude. I'm like, fuck. Okay, dude.
Victoria Dudakova's blood butt. No, it's kind of tough because
this chick, she's in Invicta right now, but hear me out. It's like, okay,
well, she's a natural atom weight. She has, but they don't have atom weight in the UFC.
She's 11 and 15, but. No, go ahead, dude.
So it's a little tough because so many of the champs are booked right now, and there are like so many fights already kind of in the works. I know that the Topuria versus Volkanovski fight got moved to February instead of January because they're not going to let Volkanovski be an absolute madman. That fight, honestly, if he wanted to sit for a bit and wait it out to UFC 300, that is a fight that I would love to see on UFC 300. I think the more time that Volk has to really properly prepare for that fight, that would be intriguing. We'll see. How far away are we from the Leon Edwards-Colby Covington fight? Is that like a few weeks away or something?
That's very soon.
Yeah, because if that one's happening really soon, I wouldn't mind seeing the winner of that. Maybe if, it's not like a grueling knockdown, drag-out fight, maybe make a quick turnaround and defend that.
If you say Bilal Muhammad, I'll kick you in the fucking
Dude, you're the one that said Chirac, dude. Bilal versus Colby for the title in Chirac? That'd be sick. Be all the bodega cats will be coming out of the woodwork for that
bodega boys. Yeah, that's supposed to happen at 296, December 16th. So that's like a month.
Now, and with his injury,
sucks because I'll be at Disneyland again.
Oh no! So
I was at Disneyland for what was that one in Well, which one was that that I missed at Disneyland? It was in Abu Dhabi. It was Makashev and or the OG Makashev and Charles, where
OG
we like made the
Makachev.
joke. It was Makashev and Charles. Wasn't that in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, I think so. That because that
Yeah.
was when Charles was
And then it
walking
was
around with
Sugar
that lion.
Sean versus Jan. It was O'Malley versus Jan. It was like crazy. That was a crazy card. There's so many. It was Sean Brady versus your buddy, Palestinian Chicken.
Chicken
Yeah,
biryani.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
man, it makes sense to go to Disneyland on a Saturday. I can't blame you. Certainly,
yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't. For a UFC 295 card, if you were going to be at Disneyland this weekend, I'd be like, dog, what are you doing?
yeah,
But
yeah,
hey, let's get into this card now.
yeah.
Main event. This fight was formerly the co-main event. Oh, wait, you know what? Hold up. Rewind.
Was it the
I didn't.
co-main?
Yeah, this was originally the co-main event. It was
Oh,
supposed
because
to
of
be
John Jones Miocic.
Jones
Huh?
versus Miocic. Yeah. So I didn't actually turn the question around back to you. Like, magic wand a little bit, or within reason, who would you want to see on UFC 300? Like, what do you think would be feasible, even if you had to reschedule something that's already booked?
I would love to see Connor versus Max Holloway, because Max Holloway's not fighting now, right? He was supposed to fight Tapuria,
He
or
was
that's what
potentially going
everyone
to
thought.
step in against Taporia.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it would be Connor versus Holloway. Um, Volk versus Tapuria would be great. Francis versus John would be sick. It's just like fuck you. Here you go.
That would
Francis
be
versus John Jones.
just a magic wand fight in general. If you say, hey,
Yeah,
you could fucking
I
move
think it's
heaven and earth to
halfway.
make one fight happen.
I think it's half-ass feasible. I think it's half-ass feasible, dude.
I don't think it would take
This,
much to make it happen. I
yeah,
think
I
all it would
don't,
take is Dana
because
just
the
fucking
PFL is not.
acquiescing.
The PFL does not matter in this case. The boxing does more, but Dana does not spend 2 seconds thinking about like what would the PFL do in court. Like he does not give a fuck. Nobody does. They're just
Yeah.
like a weird thing that they let it Ngannou dress that way at events. That's like all they're good for. It's like
Yeah, when they're going to
that's,
sit down, where they're going to meet to negotiate a potential co-promotion, whoever runs things at PFL is just going to get a mysterious text message. It's going to say, "Don't show up."
I could
Just
no. I can totally see it the other way where they're like in the hotel room, like looking in the mirror, just like cleaning themselves up, and then like listening to that like weird Euro music, getting in the elevator, getting out, sitting down, and then everybody's done. They're like, "Oh, we're done. He's fighting at 300. Like your check's right there. Don't touch the water. Don't touch anything in here because there's a meeting after this. Get out." And then the guy's gonna be like, "What the fuck?" He
there will
like
be
got his
no
suit.
there would be no mention of the smart cage whatsoever. Please.
Yeah, he's like wearing the suit he wore at his like 30th high school anniversary. Like he broke it out. He's like, "Fuck yeah, dude, this is gonna be sick." And they're like, "Don't touch anything. There's a meeting after this. The check's right there. Get out."
One more for UFC 300 that I think would be pretty awesome is the winner of this co-main event, Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall. If we can get the winner of one of these guys versus Cyril Gahn on that
Oh,
card, that would be fun. That would be really hip because I have a
Sergey,
feeling it's going to be a short
Sergey
fight.
Gone would be sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so
Mm-hmm.
main event used to be the co-main event. Jiri Prochazka, the former light heavyweight champion, returning from his injury. He had to vacate his belt because of the injury. So he's never lost it. I mean, this is pretty much
Yeah.
the lineal. Well, the lineal light heavyweight champion is John Jones, but as far as the last
Yes.
like legit light heavyweight champion we had before things just went chaotic in this division and it got passed around like a hot potato, Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira, the former middleweight champion who's coming off of a loss to Israel Adesanya, where Adesanya got his title back. Coming up in weight, he's already had his first effort at the light heavyweight division against Jan Blachowicz. He overcame adversity in that first round there. And in my opinion, I still thought Jan Blachowicz won that fight. But he showed that he can do it. He can hang at the light heavyweight division. That's not no-selling him here at all, because I think that there's a very, very good chance that he wins this fight. Not to even like step on the breakdown or anything or get ahead of myself and make a prediction yet, but this is what main events are made of right here. Like, this fight is so good because I can really see it going either way. Jiri Prochazka just represents chaos, just in every outlook of the fight, and that kind of wildness. Like, he's chaotic, but he's so much more well-rounded than Pereira.
I think people realize, and they don't give him enough credit.
Yeah,
and I think it's his personality mixed with the style of fights that he has. People don't really see, like, there is a method to what he does. At least, like, I guess, because he doesn't have any type of, the thing that I want to pick him, but he has no kind of defense. It's so crazy. His defense is like letting it, like, he wants to like hear the punch swipe near his ear. That's like what he wants to do. Like, he has to hear it. Like, he has to hear like the wind from the glove go past his ear for it to be like successful. Like, just blocking it with the elbow or a forearm isn't good enough. Like, it has to be some weird movie shit. Sorry, but
that's a legitimate concern, because it's with Poatan. It's one of those guys where, like you said, you can't be there. You know, it's not these aren't shots that you want to parry. Like, you need to use your footwork and not be there and like get in and out on him. Away. And man, Jiri, it's like we've talked about his fight with Vadim Nemkov back in
back and
Dream.
See that.
Yeah,
the sounds. It was it Dream or was it Ryzen?
It could have been either. I don't remember.
The sound of the sound that the Japanese the mat makes when they're getting up and falling and getting up and rolling is so pleasing, because like you don't hear that with UFC, but the like ka 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 ka, like when they get up and like the way the ring shakes, it's just
The scrambles have a sound over there. You can actually hear every elbow and knee hitting the mat as they're scrambling and rolling around. That fight, I mean, he showed us in that fight a long time ago that he has a more than competent ground game. And I mean, he submitted Glover Teixeira in his last fight.
Yeah, now, you don't choke out Glover. Yeah, I wonder why people forget that. They're like, he rear naked choked Glover Teixeira. What the fuck?
I mean, you could certainly throw an asterisk on that fight because it was a late round. I mean, a late fight submission. It was in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Both guys had already beaten the piss out of each other. That was, I don't remember if we awarded that fight of the year, but it was certainly.
For me. Yeah.
It was okay. So I don't remember how we went on that, but it was. I think
it got the pluggy, or what the fuck did we call it? What the fuck did we call that stupid shit?
It's a 1A, 1B type of situation, if anything. So yeah, he had already tenderized Glover Teixeira before he got that choke, but still, you got to be a really special guy and a real dynamo to be able to submit Glover Teixeira. So that presents a potential danger.
It's the opposite for me, asterisk wise. Like, it's double asterisk. Like, this is so sick because like a cornered animal just goes and does what they're best at. So like, I bet you a bear that's like starving and hungry and tired, just like, I have these claws and I'm going to kill you with these claws because that's what I have. Glover, dead tired, rattled, end of the fight. All he has, I mean, not all he has, but I'm sure like he would lean heavily on his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, that's his muscle memory. His body's meant to do that. And he still got choked out. So it's like killing a cornered bear with its own claws kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that's how I always thought of it. I thought of it as like a reverse asterisk.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of instances where Glover was dealing out the punishment in that fight too. And he certainly, like, there was a few times when it looks like if he would have just continued striking with him instead of trying to shoot for a takedown and get him down, like, Glover potentially could have finished.
You should have stood up. Yeah.
And if Poatan's putting that wood on him, dude, oh man, it's so good. And I mean, Poatan here potentially vying to be, to get his second championship title in a second division, he'll end up being like one of what, 7, 8 champions who managed to do that, all within. This is going to be his 11th MMA fight overall, and I think
Yeah.
it's going to be like his 5th UFC fight. It's fucking insane. Like, yeah, I mean, everybody knows the story, the built-in storyline that he had with Israel Adesanya coming into the UFC. So it was pretty clear and transparent that they kind of set him on a path to do that. But he still answered every call. He still did what he did. He knocked out the right guys. And I think I want to ask you this. Regardless of who we're picking in this fight, which guy do you think has more potential longevity as a champion in this division?
Yuri.
So
Yuri Prohaska.
okay, that's kind of how I'm leaning. Also, I'm leaning towards Alex Pereira, just as far as like how their styles match up. But I don't picture Pereira potentially being like as dominant as a champion or a guy who's going to hold it as long as Yuri Prohaska. But I mean, tell me though, like who's gonna take it from Pereira though? Like who's the guy? Who's his biggest threat after he gets past, if he gets past Prohaska? Was it Ankalaev?
Jamal Hill. Ankalaev, or I think Jamal Hill could be Poatan. I think Jamal Hill would have a harder time with Yuri.
That's an interesting one. I think Jamal Hill is probably my next most exciting fight, for either of these
who
guys.
Knows? Achilles is wild. Who knows? Like if that guy even will be even close to the same, because he did. Why I say that is Jamal Hill's his dismantling of, because he absolutely dismantled Glover. It wasn't like a fluke win. I was like, could not believe what I was watching, how good he was. And he had a mix of athleticism, amazing in the pocket. He grappled when he had to, got away from things when he had to. He had defensive grappling. He had offensive wrestling and was striking so well, kicking so well. It was a very good mix. I think with Yuri, it would be hard because it's harder for a guy like Hill to go with that kind of chaos, because Yuri can like really do some weird shit. And Yuri's huge. He's so big. Pause. He's a formidable person. And I just think that mixed with like the wackiness would be hard for Hill to deal with. But I think, yeah, man, I guess I don't know with Ankalaev, like who even fucking knows where that guy is, after his last performance, like who even knows what the fuck that guy's on right now?
Yeah, and I could see him having a chance, but he also has to get the opportunity, which there's no guarantee that they'll even give it to him.
Yeah. Dang. Who is it? Mirzakhanov is like
Azamat
Mirzakhanov is like getting close, right?
Let me pull up these light heavyweight rankings and kind of name some of these guys off. So in the top 10, some guys that we haven't mentioned: Alexander Rakic, who hasn't been back since 2022. Johnny Walker, he's coming off of his no contest.
Yeah.
He's
scary.
This is one that's going to get Mike's dick hard. Nikita Krylov.
Capone.
Nikita Capone Krylov, the minor. He's coming. He's on a 3-fight win streak.
Though. Can I make so I think Mike's gonna catch a little shrapnel here. I'm gonna say it over the screen to your face. I read you guys kind of go off on your own combos in our group chat, right? And it's like, okay, and I'll read it. But I don't know, because it's like you guys know a lot. You guys are very knowledgeable. You guys are hardcore fans. You guys have made great points. You've made great points on this thing. But like when I listen to the conversations and like your takes on things and like how you would like to see the MMA run, the matchups you like to have, and like who you think wins over who doesn't, if you guys ran the UFC, no one would watch it, guys. Like, no one would fucking watch it. No one would fucking care, dude. So I'm like, God damn. Like, I really, like, because then I hear you guys, well, Dana's out. Vince is going to just kick Dana out. And this is how it's supposed to be. And I'm like, dude, I pray to God it goes the opposite. Because, like, if it goes the way you guys want it, I'm sure it'd be, like, super honorable. It would be it would be very, but it would almost be like Marvel, the way Marvel MCU is now, where it's like
Oh,
Black Girl
dang.
Magic
Uh-huh.
kind of shit. You know what I mean? Where it's like
I
they
kind of
fucking killed Star Wars.
I'm not gonna go down. I'm not gonna like go down a rabbit hole here with this comparison. But I feel like the Marvel thing. I almost feel like the model right now is more what Marvel is doing. Just if I'm gonna compare like the Dana White Contender series to like
Okay.
how they're just kind of like over inundating us with new characters that nobody gives a shit about. But anyways, that's the only small little
No, well,
comparison I'm gonna
it's
make.
not that no one gives a shit about them. Marvel's more taking characters that people love for decades, and they're like, well, it's now actually a gender non-binary whatever, and you're just like, no, he was actually a biker, and he's like, no, he's not. So
Yeah.
that's it, you know.
There's not really that as much of that going on with the MCU as like a lot of YouTubers would have you believe. But I get the
Okay,
comparison.
sure. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. You would say that, but
The
you know what I mean? Like you're
in the
making my
comics,
ladies and gentlemen listening, he's making my point for me, guys. He's literally making my point for
ladies and
me.
gentlemen
Thank you.
listening, Brandon doesn't watch the MCU, so I'm sure you've seen plenty of thumbnails that are like MCU, but it's like it's shit
Okay.
tier writing that's the problem, really. It's just
Yes.
but no, as to what you're saying,
Making my point. Thank you so much.
that wasn't even
Walked
your
him into
point.
it, guys.
That
Ladies
wasn't
and
even
gents,
your
I
point.
walked this man into it. Go
Well,
ahead.
to your
She-Hulk
comment
was
about
good. He's gonna be right now. She-Hulk was very good, Brandon. You don't understand. They didn't
to
give her
your
a chance.
to your comment about mine and Mike and the way we would
Yeah.
run the UFC not making any money. I don't give a fuck right now because
Yeah.
we don't run the UFC. So like
Yeah.
that's why I have no vested interest in how many pay-per-view numbers that they pull, you know? Then
Right, right, right.
I get frustrated by people who are caught up in that where it's like, well, they don't
Yeah.
draw enough money. It was like, who cares? Who do you want to see fight?
Yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
care
yeah,
like how many pay-per-views it sells? But
Yeah.
if we
No, I
were
didn't mean.
running
I
the
guess
UFC,
I reworded it wrong. I wouldn't. I didn't care if they made millions. I didn't care. I wouldn't watch it. Is what I'm saying. The point I was trying to make is I wouldn't watch it. You're right. I don't watch Marvel. I just don't. So,
we
and
should
then if it was your UFC, I wouldn't watch it. Like I just wouldn't watch it. Sorry. I
yeah.
mean, I love you to death.
I
I love
mean,
you very much.
I'm just saying, female Charles Oliveira. Let's change Charles Oliveira's gender. Let's just snip the entire lightweight division.
I thought that was being a gender role.
Let's do all pussy lips and snouts and
Yeah.
buttholes for the light heavyweight division, and hell yeah.
It would be Mike. One thing I would agree with Mike though is that Gabby Garcia would be that in the UFC somehow. He would make some type of rule that she could fight.
I am not in the Gabby Garcia business. You can keep
No.
all
Mike
that
likes her though.
out of my UFC. Yeah, Mike likes her. Mike
Yeah,
likes her.
I'm interested by like it's interesting to me. I like would like to. I have this weird thing where like I would like to see her play out like what's the word like take movies like some of the great movies like dramatic movies where they like yell they're like no or like like McBain Mendoza like when they're all mad like hearing her yelling or like playing out those like just hearing her voice and like the way she would do it just makes me laugh anyway. Sorry. Off on a tangent. Yuri Prohashka and
So yeah, man, it's a great one. I think this is a little bit of a return to form for the light heavyweight division. This is them. This is hopefully everything just getting back to normal. Let's give a fucking champion that we can depend on to get in there and defend the belt on a regular schedule. let's hope that this doesn't turn into an automatic trilogy. I'd like to see some parity, but I'm hoping for a good fight above all else. I'm picking Alex Poatan Pereira. I think he's going to catch.
Oh, I'm gonna take Yuri then.
I think he's going to catch Yuri doing something a little too weird early on in the fight. But Yuri has an unquestionable chin. The dude has a fucking granite chin. And Alex Poatan Pereira, he is coming off of a knockout. It's like a knockout. Oh, no, actually he's not. I keep forgetting about the Jan Blachowicz fight. But he did get his fucking... Yeah, he did get his clock clean somewhat recently. He's not having to cut down, he's not having to cut like 1 billion pounds to get down to middleweight, though. So maybe his chin won't be as compromised as it was at middleweight.
Yeah.
So what's up? What are we looking at for this co-main event? Heavyweight action. We didn't get your boy John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. We didn't get the GOAT versus... or the number 1 pound for pound versus the greatest heavyweight of all time in Stipe Miocic. Instead, we had to settle for this fucking Bush League bullshit. Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom fucking Aspinall. We're talking heavyweights that would sell This is the kind of shit that I would put as the undisputed title fight for my heavyweight division, and no one would want to see it. No one would fucking show up. Everyone would call me a clown.
Well...
I kind of just went against what I was laying down initially.
But this is where I agree with you on, like, this is the best heavyweight fight. This is the best heavyweight matchup to make right now.
And we haven't even talked about Jailton Almeida, the real dark horse of this division.
Yeah. You want to talk about it at the end?
We could talk about it right after this fight, this breakdown. I'll let you lead. This is they kind of threw this fight together on semi-short notice since they had to kind of like scramble to figure out what they were doing with the John Jones fight. But Sergey Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall, both coming off of wins. We kind of know what they bring to the table. Where are you leaning? How do you see this fight playing out?
The way it's played out for the last 45 seconds. Pavlovich has been in the ring over the last 2 years, 45 seconds in 2 years. He's going to add another 7 seconds. He's going to knock out Tom Aspinall probably in the second round, halfway through the second. He's going to knock him the fuck out. My reason for saying that, and it's an unpopular opinion, I'm sure on this podcast, the two guys here talking, a lot of people... Like, I've heard the take that, well, Aspinall's fresh. He was off. But he had an injury. He had a bad injury. And he did look good against Marcin Tybura. That's good. But Pavlovich has been super active. He's had a lot of camps. For everything we know, he hasn't been injured because he's not in there long enough to get injured. He did take some good shots against Blades, though. Blades did hit him with a few shots. He did get rocked. He's not like, I don't know. He's not like non-human or anything.
Did he get rocked? I don't remember him getting rocked.
No, not rocked, but he was hit hard. I guess
he ate a punch. Yeah,
he ate them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think his activity, it's the right kind of activity. If you're going to be as active as he is, it's better to be as active as he is, where it's like you go through the camp, you train, you go in and you win quick, and then you can get the fuck out of there uninjured. That's probably the best you can do, really, for longevity wise.
Oh, absolutely.
As you can as a fighter. He is a heavyweight, so he's not cutting every. It's not like he has to cut every fight that he has. He doesn't have to do this crazy cut, if even at all. He doesn't have to train. He does. I'm sure he does grapple. You okay over there? You look like Michael J. Fox. You're all right.
Yeah.
Just like Freddie Roach joined us.
Freddie Roach is fucked up.
Sorry, I was watching that thing on Instagram where It was Margarito and who was the other one that Pacquiao fought that were making fun of Freddie Roach, and then Pacquiao just fucking killed him.
Mhm.
It was it Silva or who was it? Anyways, uh, he doesn't train. He's a striker. That's what he does. Um, I'm sure he does train grappling and jujitsu, but defensively. But it's not his main thing. So even that, his training isn't as taxing on his body. He doesn't have years of like wrestling training, if that makes sense. Or he's not exactly like who would be a good example of that? Like a Cejudo, where like the years of fucking
Velasquez.
wrestling, Velasquez, right?
Yeah.
Like these wrestlers that it taxes on their not just as a UFC fighter, but their collegiate careers, their amateur wrestling careers.
Yeah.
The BJJ guys that go through all of these, and not to say that Aspinall has that on him either, but I'm just saying like he's very like as fresh as you, and who knows what happened in his camp or whatever, but for as mentally clear and as physically clear as one could be perceived to be, Sergey is. You know, does that make any kind of sense?
None whatsoever. No, just kidding. Yeah, no. I totally pick up what you're laying down. There's a lot of additional attrition and pressure on those joints from certain types of cross training that, he probably hasn't put nearly as much on his body. And as you were saying that kind of made me think like, okay, maybe that's probably why we see a lot more heavyweights like lasting into older age and why they don't break down as early as the smaller divisions, because they're not, I mean, just the cutting weight thing alone, like you mentioned, they're not having to really, I mean, there's plenty of big old boys that still have to cut down to 265, but in general, like that's probably not going to have as much of an impact on your physical longevity as other divisions. I don't know if like, I think Tom Aspinall is certainly the more skilled heavyweight, and I think he's probably faster. He probably has sharper hands. He's probably the better grappler overall. I mean, he's unquestionably the better grappler. Like, he has a really good submission game. I don't know how many levels of wrestling he has, and if like the first layer of that onion is going to be enough to take Sergey Pavlovich and put him in a position that he doesn't want to be in, that's much more favorable for Tom Aspinall. But I have a feeling we're going to find out pretty fast in this fight. That's where I agree with you. It's like we're going to know by the end of the first round if it's going to be a long night for Tom Aspinall. And that kind of feels like a little bit of like a cop-out prediction, but it's one of those things we have to see because it's a 5-round fight, and it doesn't take much, or it doesn't take very long for Sergey Pavlovich to do what he does and go and put his work on display. And this isn't a guy who whiffs very much either. Like when Sergey decides to start unloading on you, he is scary fucking accurate. And he comes from different angles, doesn't have the greatest footwork, doesn't have much in the way of footwork other than coming forward, honestly. But the angles that he manages to generate with his punches, he does as much as he can with the footwork that he has. And I made that joke in the chat earlier that didn't seem to land, but he feels like he's Goro with 2 arms instead of but you know, he still has like that kind of range with the forearm deals. But when he starts punching, that's kind of what it feels like. It is. It's just always coming, and he's the kind of guy with his crazy reach, like he in the combo back to back, he'll throw an uppercut and then an overhand right and then a hook and then a straight right, and it's like it's so hard to deal with, and all of it hits so fucking hard. Like he's in league with the hardest hitters Nissan that we've seen so far.
He's throwing Nissan Sentras at you like right at your head, and if it misses your head, it's going to hit your chest or your shoulder.
I mean,
so it's like, damn.
Francis Ngannou has decapitated fools in the cage before, but he's the famous shots that we know for how he took dudes' heads off. Like, you could see it in the strike, even if it cut off right after the strike. Just how we saw it land, like we know what he put into each of those shots. Sergey Pavlovich has that effect with shots that don't look like he's putting everything into them. It's straight punches, man.
It's the reach thing that it's like, I do think a grappler, it does make sense like it did with Blades, where it's like such a good grappler, a good wrestler, someone who can dictate where the fight takes place, would by all and like all seemingly would have the upper hand of like, no, I can just take you down, but you have to get inside of that reach to
Yeah.
do that, and it's hard to do that without, because that's that much longer of because it's like a game of seconds, and it's just like not even milliseconds
Yeah.
of like you're having to extend that shot, and you're in a vulnerable, as much as wrestling is amazing, you're vulnerable with your head going at somebody's crotch. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you're not going to be able to get like a and I might just look stupid with this, but he's strong as fuck. You're not just gonna like judo toss Sergey Pavlovich, so it's like,
Yeah.
what, it's kind of hard. And as much as I like Tom Aspinall, and I think Tom Aspinall pre-injury, I would take him, and I would not even think about it really. But it's just that was a catastrophic injury.
Yeah. And
It
it's
was it
still,
wasn't
yeah,
yeah
and it's still a little bit of a question mark because that Marcin Tybura fight was kind of short. Like it wasn't a very
yeah
long fight. So
yeah. And for all the things that Pavlovich isn't, he's a lot better. He's a different, like you've called him like a 90s or early 2000s heavyweight,
yeah.
but so is Tribura too. But he's a lot better of a, you know what I mean, of a 90s heavyweight.
Yeah.
So he's more of a Tim Sylvia to the Tank Abbott, I guess. If it was like the two of them.
Uh, let's
So
see.
you're like, hey, dude, go ahead
So
and jump off
let's
the
take a
call.
quick
Mike's
break.
gonna jump on now.
Oh, oh, that's why I can't hear you. I don't have my headphones on.
Mm.
All right, I can hear now. You can stop talking shit.
Yeah, I was talking shit. You probably text Mike, jump on. Brandon's off. You're like, hey, Mike's gonna jump on. He's gonna take it from here. Thanks. See how much people don't like to watch this.
The everyone's dumb but us podcast.
So I think what I was getting to was, with Aspinall, this isn't going to be UFC Fight Night London, where is basically where he's from. He's getting set up by the UFC to look good in a matchup wise, where everything's in his favor. That's basically like Abu Dhabi for Islam. You know what I'm saying? it's kind of this is not, and Sergey's very stoic, very cold, not emotional, and doesn't really care. He's there to knock you the fuck out and leave, even if it was in London, I don't think it would be as big of a mental thing for Sergey, because I just think it doesn't really, home field advantage doesn't really matter to a guy like that, where it does for Aspinall. I do think fighting in England really helped him. I don't think people in New York really give a fuck
No,
about.
I doubt it. Yeah, I don't think he's any
not
kind
going
of
to have anyone singing when he comes in. No one cares. I mean, there'll be British people there, I'm sure, but no one
You
really
think they
cares.
let them in?
Huh?
You
I think
think they
they're
let them
leaving
in?
because it's basically like mini Palestine over there right now. So they're trying to go somewhere, which New York is pretty much the same thing too. But
Yeah,
well, no, not really.
I think he's definitely more of a draw for the pay-per-view numbers, but yeah, I don't think he's doing anything to fill any seats in at
You know what I mean? And I think he's been like set up and propped up by the UFC for that. And I think, and that's smart. He's a heavyweight. They're trying to hit that European market. It was smart for the UFC to do that. But what he's doing now is what a lot of UFC fighters, because he was like the talented Paddy Pimblett, where he was getting like, I don't know if it's preferential, but he was being helped out by the UFC because they want that market, and it helps them to where British heavyweight looks good in the main event. Now it's just like, dude, we have to fix this card, so you have to fight this guy. Like, figure this out. Which is what a lot of UFC fighters deal with, fight to fight. You know what I mean? And so, go ahead. You're
I'm
gonna tell
looking
me
at his
about.
record right now because I was like, am I going to end this whole man's career? But no,
And you're not. You can't.
I think they did. They compared
Volkov.
to other
That's
guys, they
it.
definitely slow rolled him, I would say. But they
Yeah.
also gave him names that are like recognizable names, but also not the most dangerous guys in the division. I think it was pretty smart the way they booked him because I mean, back in
Yeah.
2021, he fought Andrei Arlovsky, very safe fight, a known name, a known commodity. Sergey Spivak, Alexander Volkov. Like this is about like this is the known but like medium difficulty route towards contendership in the
Yeah,
heavyweight division right
and
now.
read Sergey's and read the times he was in there. So it's just a little bit different, dude. And then they were just like, go here, go there, go here, go there, do this, do that. Like it was never like, let's make Sergey look good. Like let's kind of help this guy out. It was always like, you better fucking knock this guy out or that's it. Okay.
Well, I
Knocks
mean,
him the fuck out and then
yeah,
leaves.
Sergey's first fight and his only loss in the UFC still was against Alistair Overeem. So I mean, that's a tough matchup to make your debut against. Marcelo Gome. Oh, this is punishment right here. Maurice Green, the crochet boss. In this
You have to look that full in the face.
Interestingly, he was scheduled to fight Tom Aspinall back in 2021
Right.
in
I saw that.
September of 2021. So, but yeah, coming up, his three most recent wins have been the most impressive by far because of who they are and the fact that it's all been by finish. All of his wins, he's a 100% UFC finish rate, and I think 100% finish rate just in MMA in his career overall does Sergey Pavlovich have. But coming off of wins, knockout wins over Curtis Blades, Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, Shamil Abdurahimov, and so on and so forth. Yeah, man. If Tom Aspinall has enough of a shot, and he does have a really good double leg, like he has better wrestling than I think a lot of people are giving him credit for, especially considering where he comes from.
Good point. Yeah.
I don't know that I've seen enough of it to be confident that he's going to be able to hold Sergey Pavlovich down. I do think he needs to get very offensive with it right away and be chasing a submission and try to get Sergey out of there because it's heavyweight. I don't care how good of a grappler he is. It's probably not going to look like Jailton Almeida holding Derek Lewis down for five rounds.
Something minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, like he needs to whatever kind of punch is going to be on that double leg in the first round probably isn't going to look the same in the fourth round or in the fifth round if it gets that far, because Sergey Pavlovich is a much more complete fighter and a much more less cooked fighter than Derek Lewis.
Right.
Yeah, I think everything here is making me want to lean towards Sergey Pavlovich as well, and it will make your prediction true that by the end of the year, Sergey Pavlovich will be potentially UFC champion. I mean, I guess we're going to let it count on a technicality. Interim champion, that's close enough for me.
It's kind of spooky though.
I'll give it to
From
you.
where I was when I said that to where we are now, that's kind of crazy because I think who had he just knocked out? It was like I think it was, or is it around the Shamil Abdul-Rahim? Okay, if you make that after
Well, you
that,
know what? So far, Sergey Pavlovich's only fight in 2023 was in April against Curtis Blades. So when you made that prediction, it was right at the beginning of the year. He had just knocked out Tai Tuivasa on December 3rd of last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming out of that early, you made that prediction in early January. So
And the way Cyril Gane looked, like to everyone, Cyril Gane looked like the most terrifying motherfucker alive to a lot of people, including the two of us.
and you also made that prediction before John Jones officially came into the heavyweight division and won that title.
But I waited as a possibility though. I've gone back and listened to that, just to be like, no, I'm right.
I do kind of wonder though, like if you still make that prediction if John was the champion at the beginning of the year. If he's
Because
still,
and I what how I preface saying that is that John can't get out of his own fucking way.
yeah, John can't get out of his own way. Speaking of John, did we already talk about that? I mean, we mentioned it obviously, but have we talked in depth about the fight cancellation with him and Stipe?
No, I don't even know too much about it other than it's just off.
Well, you know what? We did talk about it a little bit. Yeah, because I remember you mentioned like it's very convenient that they were recording right when he got
they
in.
just had it right then and there. Yeah, that was very weird. I don't like that, but okay.
A little fishy. But I guess the only thing that we can touch on that was what we already said.
But they didn't have
John
any,
versus Ngannou.
They didn't have a camera on while he was hiding under a octagon from USADA, though. It's just weird when they choose to pull that camera out.
Feature fight of the night: Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. Jessica coming off of a 3-fight losing streak. Mackenzie Dern
made me want to tear my fucking mustache hair out. They just had her dad on. Megaton. Right away. Everyone say that, and like in her fucking accent, you don't, sweetie. Sweetie, you don't have that accent. Everyone say that it's so funny that my dad, he have a name, and they say why he have a name, because it sound like when he throw a guy on the mat, he sound like a megaton bomb. Shut the fuck up. Kill me.
Mackenzie Dern coming off of her win over Angela Hill, who she wasn't able to submit. I'm being a fucking hella hater when I say that back in May. Fuck Angela Hill, dude. What the fuck was that win over Denise Gomez? She
just won, though. Angela Hill just won,
beat Denise Gomez, who I thought
that's I'm not gonna go down right there. That's do it.
Yeah, Denise Gomez fucking she knocked out Howdigi. So it's like, dude, what the fuck? She was supposed to walk. There's so many girls that were supposed to walk through Angela Hill that haven't. I'm upset, but yeah, the fight is Jessica Andrade.
Hill's record, what is it, like 14-19 or something?
She has a horrible record, dude. She has a record of 15-12 currently.
Outside of the gal that's on your background.
Excuse me, 16-13, my bad.
Outside of the gal that's on your background, like Weili Zhang, Rose, they all kind of have the same fucking record, dude. You know what I mean? Blanchfield is good, But
here we go. Yeah, they all have the same record. Yeah.
Kind of. I'm just trying to be a dick.
Let's see. So Mackenzie Dern and Jessica Andrade. If I'm going to talk about like what people would probably actually be interested in, if we're going to break down this fight, is what we're going to place a bet on whether or not John Anik is going to mention it. That apparently both of them are in the middle of some drawn out divorces and have made it apparent that they are fighting to pay off their lawyers right now. So that's an interesting dynamic on this fight that I didn't know was going to be a factor at all. But I think it's definitely been a factor for Jessica Andrade because she's just been taking any old bullshit fight they'd offer her. And she's on a losing streak for it right now because they are making her fight a fucking murderer's row. But I think this is a winnable fight for her.
That OnlyFans money's just not rolling in like she thought, huh?
Surprisingly. I think this is where I think Jennifer Andrade is gonna break her snap that losing streak and get the win over Mackenzie Dern. What else is on this card?
Because Mackenzie Dern, she has like the Looney Tunes takedown. I think we mentioned it. She has like the Scooby-Doo, like fighting under a sheet, rolling, and then like they're on the ground when the sheet gets pulled off. She has
just
that
a
kind
ball
of, like,
of dust with limbs poking out of it.
She has that kind of takedown.
She wishes she had that kind of scramble, actually.
And you can't do that to Jessica Andrade. So it's like that. How you can't head and arm choke or can't head and arm throw. I guarantee you, Jessica Andrade has never been head and arm throw across like step over judo thrown side like like hip tossed. She's not, you're not gonna hip toss Andrade, and that's the only way you're gonna take her down. And I
Yeah.
Perillo had, but Perillo did do a lot for Mackenzie Dern striking. It looked better
It's come a long way
against them.
when she's
Yeah,
fought girls who she has kind of felt confident against, like that she's not really
yeah,
worried are going to hurt her back. Her striking has
right.
cleaned up quite a bit. I think
Yeah, absolutely.
Andrade, while Andrade's striking hasn't improved at all,
Yeah,
she still has the power, and I
evolved.
think
Yeah,
I think if she catches Dern slipping, she could still like earn her respect and turn Dern back into a sloppy striker or a desperation
yeah,
striker. By the way, look at you breaking down this fight. I was going to spare you the
yeah.
breakdown of this fight and move on, but
No, it makes
I
sense,
I
though,
did
right?
like
What I'm saying makes
your
sense.
Looney Tunes comparison with because that's perfect. That's the perfect way to describe Mackenzie Dern's wrestling game.
Yeah, it's like fucking Bugs and Elmer Fudd are like wrestling, and then like you like the dust settles, and then Elmer Fudd's like grabbing onto his own ankle. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? How the fuck did that happen? Where's Bugs? You know, that's
also
her
and
fucking wrestling.
and there's a history, there's a pattern here. There's like receipts for this. Mackenzie Dern is absolutely the kind of grappler who will hold on to something longer than she
Way
should,
too long, and you
and
cannot do it. Yeah,
that's exactly the kind of shit that got Rose slammed on her fucking head
yeah,
against
yeah.
Andrade. So
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park for Mackenzie Dern at all. So that's an interesting fight. That was a good one for
Yeah.
strawweight.
I'm excited to watch. I'm actually am excited to watch this. So, yeah.
Matt Frivola versus Benoit Saint Denis or Denis.
Good fight. This is low
This is a
key
great
a
one.
very good fucking fight. Benoit Saint Denis is fucking sick. He's fucking crazy. Matt Frivola is very good. This is a good fucking fight right here.
11-3 versus 12-1. Matt Frivola's hands have come a long way. Was his most recent fight where he knocked out Drew Dober, or yeah, he's still coming off of that knockout of Drew Dober back in May. He's coming off of are they all first round finishes? Yes. Matt Frivola is on a fucking streak right now from hell. And so has Benoit Saint Denis. Both guys are absolute.
These guys are rabid dogs being held by a chain, and they're gonna let them go this weekend, dude. It's gonna be sick. And
This
who
is
knows?
get
It
or
may
get
not
got.
happen the way. Yeah, it may not happen the way we think it is, but like there's enough here to think like this is gonna be badass.
Yeah. The return of Diego Lopez, who's quickly making a name for himself. He's grappling coach.
Grappling coach. I was just gonna say Grasso's grappling coach, right?
Yeah. He originally made his debut on very, very short notice to fight Movsar Evloev. Nobody was really giving him a shot in that fight. And he gave Movsar Evloev a hell of a fight. I think he had Movsar Evloev limping out of the cage. Then in his last fight, he got a round 1 triangle armbar over Gavin Tucker. Super slick.
He's been on tour with
jiu-jitsu.
My Chemical Romance.
Very impressive. and he has the Warped Tour hair. That's just the fucking best. I love that no one else owns hair like that in the UFC. I mean, you got like the Patty Pimlet like bowl cut, but nobody has like this fucking straight up emo hair. And it's not even like an over exaggeration to call it emo hair. It is because tonight will be the night that I will fall free. Like straight up.
Yeah, dude.
It's the best.
Very much. Yeah. He for sure has a Misfits like patch on a denim fucking vest, dude. For sure.
The Nightmare Before Christmas beanie.
Fucking Diego Danzig, dude.
Yeah.
Big time.
So that's a good one. There's some more good quality WMMA on the card a little bit further down. Tabitha Ricci versus Lupe Godinez. That's a really fucking fun one.
That's a good one. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let's recap this. Let's recap this Gileton Almeida Derek Lewis fight from this past weekend.
Yeah.
And going to put a bow on it because that's somewhat relevant to the heavyweight fight that we have coming up, because we mentioned that we would like to see the winner of this weekend's heavyweight interim title fight the winner. Well, I mean, I think we'd love to see them fight John Jones since he's the actual champion officially. But if he's not going to fight either, then we mentioned that wanting to see them fight Cyril Gane. What
Hmm.
about the loser of this fight having to fight Jailton Almeida on the come up?
Yeah.
Jail-
Um, it's he's a bad matchup for a lot of heavyweights coming up. Just it's just the only thing that sucks is he's smaller, but hopefully he can put some more mass on and just stick to heavyweight. Not fool around with like jumping to light heavyweight and up.
yeah,
I don't know if that's the plan for him, but um, it's pretty funny to me the because we've both really gone to bat for Almeida on here. I'll speak for myself and say that I think he's very good. We know neither of us have ever said he's going to be like Mike Tyson or anything or anything. We kind of like if you've seen a Jonathan Almeida fight, you've seen one, you've seen all of them.
yeah,
Um, a lot of the people that are now because he was a because the last time we saw him was on ABC, but he was like a co-main, right? The ABC fight night was like at 11 in the morning, which is almost kind of what it was here, but it was in Brazil. But a lot of the people that like the detractors and are hating on him, it's like you okay, so you've never seen him fight. It's this is what I've always seen with the people that have talked shit about Jota Almeida. It's and they do it with every fighter. It's say, well, I've never seen him, so I don't know. Um, then pick the guy, his opponent, and then when the opponent loses, like Derek Lewis lost, like fucking insane. The strike, even the strike numbers are fucking pretty crazy. He landed like
dismantle.
100 and he landed like 140 more strikes. Like okay, so he had him in on top position, mount a bunch of times. He was in top position for like 21 minutes out of like 25 minutes or like something insane. He outstruck him by like 120 strikes. He had like 75 more significant strikes. He was fighting Derek fucking Lewis. What was he supposed to fucking do? But everyone's like, nah, I never really seen him fight, but okay, I'm gonna take Derek Lewis. And then it's like, okay, oh well, okay, he won, but I'm not very impressed by it, so it doesn't matter anyway. And it's like, wait, what? Like,
I
what are
was
you talking about?
I was picking Derek Lewis, but
Yeah,
since he didn't finish Derek Lewis, like I'm not impressed. Yeah,
yeah, and it's just like, okay, guys. Well, and then it's everyone's like, well, but I've only really seen him on like Instagram Reels, so I don't know much about Almeida. It's like you've seen Instagram Reels versions of Shalton Almeida. Like, what do you like? Who cares, So it's just not gonna turn the. But that's how the UFC is, though. That's why like Cheeto Vera is getting the fucking the the
the
shot at
title
the
shot.
belt
Yeah.
instead of like Corey Sandhagen. You know what I mean? So that sucks for Jalton. But I think the fact that there isn't a lot of great heavyweights and a lot of them are on the downside now. Like we just saw Lewis. Uh, I mean, who does he fight next? Does he fight Volkov next?
Jailton Almeida.
Yeah,
A lot of people are saying that it makes sense to rebook Jailton versus Curtis Blades, and I can't
yeah,
disagree.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's
Absolutely.
a great test, and
Yeah. Hmm.
he's certainly not going to be able to just control Curtis Blades like he did to Derek Lewis. So, yeah, I
It
think that's a
would
good
suck that
tussle.
because Jalton doesn't speak English and Curtis has such a bad stutter that the that's just a train wreck of a press tour, dude.
Yeah, that's a promotional black hole,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
And no pun on the black part, I guess, but
Oh damn, dude.
Jailton,
Good thing
man.
this is at the end, man.
They're certainly, yeah, and I mean he's already not going to get a whole lot of rope from the current fan base because of the
Yeah,
performance that he put in against Derek Lewis, which is like you were saying is crazy to say because he arguably 50-40'd him, which is nuts.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
I
as
don't care how
dominant as you
boring it
can
is
get.
to do that to anyone at any, let alone heavyweight, where everyone said Dirk Lewis just gets up. He's
Yeah,
just gonna stand up. It's
that's the
like
meme,
no, dude.
and Almeida's legitimately like the only guy who's broken that because other people have subbed Derek Lewis, sure.
Yeah.
But that means they didn't give him the opportunity to just stand up and break jujitsu.
But they also weren't 50 pounds less than Derek
Yes.
Lewis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was like literally 50 pounds heavier than Almeida was.
And that's why I had to go to bat for Almeida a little bit in our group chat. Now, full disclosure, I watched bits and pieces of this fight because I was at a wedding. So I had to pull this fight up on my phone.
Congratulations. Nice. Well played, man. You look
It
great.
was good times. So I pulled up this fight on my phone thinking like, oh, I can catch the main event and this should be a short fight. So, you know, I'm not going to be like distracted the whole time. And then I was distracted. I couldn't watch it all. And I look back a little bit later and it's like, oh, it's the end of the second round. This fight is still going. What's going on?
Yeah. What the
And then
fuck?
I look back and I'm talking to somebody else and I take a look back and now it's the third round and it just kept going. So yeah, I didn't ingest this fight a lot of the ways that other Jailton Almeida detractors did. I understand this was probably a boring ass fight to watch that nobody's gonna go back and rewatch, and I haven't gone back to rewatch. And I've watched some of the highlights, and I get it. There were certainly times when he had Derek Lewis just down completely defenseless and dead to rights, and it's like, why aren't you throwing elbows? Why aren't you doing a little bit more to try and finish this fight? I think I get why people are frustrated with Jailton Almeida.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So for that reason, I can also see them not giving him the Cyril Gane fight, which he made that call out. And I think that's a great call out. It makes a lot of sense. And by all means, call out like one of the highest ranked guys with no ground game at all. Like that's the smart call out for sure. But I think the UFC likes Cyril Gane. They see something very marketable in Cyril Gane. And I don't think they're going to give him that fight. So I think the best he can do is the loser of the Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich fight. Or fight Curtis Blades, I guess. But like we mentioned, promotionally, what is like that's a tough one.
That has to be way down the card if it is. That would be good at 300, right? Almeida, Curtis Blades, like heading the first fight of the main card.
Oh yeah.
Sick.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
And then they won't. And then, you know, if you do have Connor on the stage, if you do have fucking John Jones, if you do have those guys on there, then they don't even have to really even talk. They could just sit there and watch Connor say a bunch of wild shit. Like you don't even have to talk.
A little bit of random news. I was listening to Uriah Faber on Ariel a little bit ago. I think it was from the other day or earlier this week, and he said that Song Yadong.
You said Uriah Faber. I go, oh, he's not fighting Peter Yan, right? Is that what you're gonna say?
Well, all he said was that Song Yadong is going to be headlining the UFC Shanghai card that they're going to be doing in Shanghai soon.
Yeah, no, let's see. Big Marcel posted who he's fighting against.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I'll pull it up right here. It's a little bit of a letdown, but it's because it's just not Peter Yan, but Big Marcel. Because I guess it was just like the UFC said. That's pretty much how it's going.
Chris Gutierrez.
Chris Gutierrez, yeah, there you go.
That's a really good fight.
It is a good fight. Yeah.
20-7 versus 20-4. Like, oh yeah, that's a really, really good.
That's a great fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what the fuck, dude? How? I don't know. Maybe Uriah doesn't know, and he thinks that they're the main event because he wouldn't know who the actual main event is if that's been determined. But man, how is it not Zhang Weili versus? Yeah. I mean, like Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan, but
I don't think the Chinese want to. I think the Chinese are like, we don't want to see a Chinese person lose. And if two Chinese people fight each other, one is going to have to lose. And we don't want to. Both of them have a legit shot at the championship. One is the champion. So, no.
I mean, I guess. Could be. They're also guaranteed that the belt stays in China. But looking at this card, it looks like they might have also been like, we also don't want to see women fight.
Yeah, very true. Or anyone with pigment. in their skin. Anyone with any kind of pigmentation will not be on the fight.
I mean, the closest you get is Andre Muniz and Chris
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Gutierrez. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they don't like the pigmentation there.
Right on.
Take that
Well,
for what it is.
yeah, I'm
Can I
looking.
say
Okay,
one
that
thing though
that card is
today?
pretty much all together. Yeah, go on.
So one thing I listened to today was I listened to Cheeto Vera on it was a comedy podcast, and he was just, and take it for what it is, because like what's his name was on it, the Puerto Rican rattlesnake, what's his name, Gomez, what's his name, he used to do the show with Bisbing, remember, Luis Gomez.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he was on
Puerto
it. He's not
Rican
the
rattles.
that's what he calls himself, the Puerto Rican rattlesnake.
That's the
um
worst.
but it was Cheeto Vera, and it was Shane Gillis's podcast, and Cheeto Vera was on there, and he was kind of just talking about fighting O'Malley, and like how he doesn't. It was pretty, the way he broke it down. They're like, yeah, Sandhagen's pretty pissed, and Marab's pretty pissed. He's like, so what? They can suck my fucking dick. No, their own mom won't watch them fucking fight. He's fucking funny. He's like, their mom won't even tune into that shit. So why the fuck would someone pay $90? Like, who gives a fuck? And I was like, okay, yeah. And but one thing he said that was really, and this might open up a can of worms here, but I mean, a can of worms for us, not really like the public, but he was mentioning that a lot of the shit Francis was saying, like Francis Ngannou was saying about the way the UFC, he's like that. He's like, I don't agree with anything he said. He's like, I know a lot of fighters in the UFC, but he's also employed by the UFC broadcasting. He's been a company guy for a long time. Bisbing is employed by the UFC, which is Bisbing is a big training partner for him.
Yeah.
Um,
And like you mentioned, he's part of the Spanish broadcast team too. So he
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
literally a
He's
mouthpiece for the UFC.
I mean,
Yeah.
man, yeah, right, exactly. So, but he said, he's like, that was so, and it came out of left field. He's like, that was so weird because they were not talking about Francis Ngannou at all, and he just brought it up. I don't know, like he had something to say, like it was on his heart, and he's like, I don't know why he said any of that stuff, man. He's like, that's not true. He's like, they'll pay you what you're worth. He's like, maybe it's because I'm from Ecuador, or he's like, you see a lot of people like me, like from Ecuador, or you see people from Dagestan, or people from Russia. They're all very much happy with what they get paid and how they get paid and the way things work. He's like, there are guys that fight for 10 and 20 or 20,000 or 10 and 10, and he's like, that sucks. It's not a lot of money, but he's like, it is what it is. He's like, I fought for $90 once, and I'm just like, what the fuck? It was kind of a weird tangent he went on, but like what really landed weird on my ear was like he was like, none of what he said. I don't think anything he said about the negotiations with the UFC is true. He's like, I think they offered him a lot of money, and I think he went weird on it with it. He was like weird with his negotiations. He went absolutely crazy. I don't know where he came up with any of this stuff. And I was just like, what the fuck? And he took a lot of he shot off on Masvidal too. Like talked a bunch of shit on Jorge Masvidal. It was crazy. I was like, damn, go off, dude. He's fucking nuts. And then he fasts for like 19 hours. Like he won't eat for 19 hours, and he'll run a marathon without eating and high on mushrooms. He'll take a gram of mushrooms, not eat for like 18 hours, and run like almost a marathon.
Why
Isn't
does he
that
have
nuts?
so little output then? You'd think he
Yeah,
has the
that's what I'm
fucking
saying. Yeah.
gas tank to really go out there and kind of let it hang out a little bit. Because I know that was one of the big criticisms of his last fight, or was it his
Mm-hmm.
last fight? I think the one before, because he's coming off of a win. No, it was the one before with Corey Sandhagen, I think it was, where they were like,
Yeah.
dude, you have, or was it Rob Font? I should pull up. I already closed my
No, it
browser.
wasn't Rob Font. There was a lot of output on Rob Font. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a while back already, where Rob Font was like winning all the rounds, and then he'd get caught like towards the end of each round and lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says that and then he also mentioned like the reason why I don't yeah, I don't show a lot of damage, even though I've taken a lot of punches, he said, or didn't blame it, but he said it was his diet, that he doesn't eat a lot of inflammatory food, like stuff that really that messes up your stomach. And it was just fun. It was just crazy to hear. I always wondered, like, damn, he took so many fucking punches. It doesn't even look like it hurt him. And he had mentioned that he doesn't eat a lot of foods that get him bloated or inflammatory, that like really make him like feel weird. That he just eats stuff that like really is like easy on the stomach and easy to digest. And he says that that's why he doesn't bleed a lot. That's why he doesn't get cut. This was pretty interesting.
You said it was one of those Legion of Skanks podcasts?
No. It's Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts. It's a really good comedy podcast, and usually it's Matt McCusker and Shane Gillis, but Shane was out of town, and I think they used Gas Digital's studios, which is where Junior the Puerto Rican rattlesnake is. So they kind of like had to let him in because he's like there, because they're like using his studio. So like, you know what I mean? That's like going to someone's house and playing their Sega and not letting them like at least play like second, you know? So like he was in there. Because it would have been cool just Shane Gillis and Cheeto Vera, but Luis Gomez was in it for whatever reason.
I liked Luis Gomez when he was on Bisping's podcast.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with him. It's just like kind of a weird, it was a weird dynamic.
I think I pulled up some of his comedy to listen to it, and it wasn't really like for me, or nothing really like stood out to me. But I didn't think he was that bad. I think I also like looked him up because I thought it was like, wait, Luis Gomez? Like, because there's an actor like, that's named Luis Gomez.
There's a lot of
right?
people named Luis Gomez.
Yeah, that's true. But I think when he left Bisping's podcast, or they parted ways, is actually around the time I stopped listening to Bisping's podcast. Anyways, I'll have to check out that. Was it Shane Gillis's?
Matt and Shane's Secret podcast. It was pretty funny. And
they have a lot of MMA fighters on there.
No, well, yeah and no, because he's a really good friend with Rogan. So they've had like a few, but they usually have guys like Mark Normand on there, or they have Dan Soder. I don't know if you know Dan Soder's on there a lot. They kind of do they're from Philadelphia, but it's a really good one. It's a really good comedy podcast. Good dudes.
I'm pretty out of the loop. I spend most of my time watching gender inclusive superhero movies and
I bet
MCU content and all of that.
MCU, Black Girl Magic.
Still fucking crossing my fingers, waiting for them to switch everybody's genders.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's wearing a Nick Fury eye patch right now.
I'm just saying, I want to see Iron Woman.
Yes,
and there's already a female Thor, Mighty Thor.
Yep, it sure is.
Oh God, it's happening! Oh shit, they're trying to send men running into the woods to preserve their
Black Panther.
Masculinity. The female.
There's a female Hulk.
Well, actually, she does become the Black Panther in the comics, so it checks out.
It tracks. Or what is it? And then who is it? What's his name? Or whatever. Whatever
Indeed. Let's put a bow on it there. We're about an hour and 15 in. Good episode, good breakdown. This is going to be the one that we're gonna really take a nice healthy bite into afterwards too. This is going to be a fun one to recap. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I have a feeling too. This is going to be bad shit. And yes, I think we're going to be talking about Frivola Saint Denis. I think that's going to be like, dude, that shit was wild.
Yeah.
I hope so anyway.
We are going to be ball washing some of the winners from this main and co-main event too. Like either way it goes, if Jiri wins, he's a 2-time light heavyweight champion within like 4 or 5 UFC fights. If Poatan wins, he's a 2-division champ within like 6 fights or something like that.
Kickboxing Hall of Famer.
Just insane. Yeah. Like, after we saw what Francis did, like, it should be really easy to declare like who's the combat sports like fighter of the year. But if Poatan becomes the light heavyweight champion after this weekend, like, the dude has a claim. Like, I mean, what is
one of the greatest? Yeah. Fighters of any combat sports history.
I think we might look back on it with a little bit more clarity at the end of the year. I mean, we're already pretty much there though, or maybe after the Fury Usyk fight, because I mean, for sure, if Fury comes up short against Usyk, this whole thing is going to get rewritten a little bit to be like, well, Fury was kind of falling off, and it kind of lined up perfectly. And who knows how we're looking at it a few months down the line, man.
Good point, man. Yeah.
All the best, Brandon. Thank you again for joining me. Everybody, if you're still listening, we thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit the like button. If you want to catch any of our future episodes, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you get notifications whenever we upload a new one. And we will see you on the next episode of The Fight Plug. Good night.